Okay, earlier this unit showed signs that the check valve was bypassing. Check valve is inside of here. And a symptom of the check valve bypassing is the pump will run, then shut off. And if you don't press the brakes, or you don't have an external leak, yet sometime later, whether it's 1 minute, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, this thing should not cycle again unless this check valve is bypassing fluid. So this unit it'd run, stop, and then if I remember correctly, about 20 minutes later it would cycle again. And with the gauge it showed that it got up to 740 psi, shut off, and then within 20 minutes it leaked down to 500, 520, whatever it was on this one, which signals the pressure switch to turn the pump back on. Well, that's just more wear and tear on your pump. It's running when it shouldn't be. So you'll need a 11/16 line wrench, and take this off. We'll probably lose some fluid. This thing has been removed from the car if you haven't figured that out already, and you'll see why I recommend that you remove it from the car. Before you remove it from the car, remember to depressurize the system. I have a video showing how to do that. Otherwise you'd have up to 700 psi of fluid pouring out right now when I took that off. Okay, inside that hole is the check valve. And of course it's not going to focus, but it'll make sense when we get it out. You can use a easy out. What I use is a there we go, self-tapping screw. Not focusing. And I guess there's a hole in the center of this thing, and it'll make sense once we get it out. Let's get that screw started. Probably easier to use a tap, but I don't have any spiral taps. All I have is the square type, and it don't work. Oh. Of course, we're going to have problems when we're videotaping. Who would have thought? Doesn't help that the camera's right here on me. I got a feeling I grabbed the wrong screw. Okay. Now you'll see why. What we're doing here. Okay, I just screwed this thing in here. Pull it out slowly. This is the check valve body. And there's a hole in the center. If I can get this thing turned right. The fluid goes in through this hole. And on the other side is a seal with a raised lip. If I can get this to focus. Of course, it's not going to do that. Of course not. Anyway, so you take that out, and then well, this is a bad position for me to try to work. I was trying to accommodate the camera, but it's screwing me up here trying to get this out. Of course we're going to have problems. Well, as you already can see, this is why you don't want to be screwing with this on the car. Okay. When all else fails, just tip the thing. Like I said, this is not normally how I fix it. But alright. That's the part. This has got the spring on it. And if you try to remove it while this unit's on the car, that spring could fly out and you'll never see it again. Hopefully we can get this to focus. But it goes in there like that. Just like that. And that seals against this plastic flat piece. And the seal on this looks good. I'm not going to put it in front of the camera because it's not wanting to focus anyway. But there is some small pieces of debris on the seal, and sometimes you can clean these things up, put it back together. Other times you can't, and you have to replace the seal. So that's what I'm doing right now, is looking the seal over, cleaning it really good, looking for any issues with it. I don't see it broken, or I think it just had some little small pieces of debris on it. Here's the... That sucks, it's not focusing. You can kind of see that. Anyway, this has to be perfectly smooth for that rubber seal to seat against. And there's small little particles of debris on it. So I cleaned it off. And then before we put it back in, I'm going to do something. See if I got this lined up right. Okay. This is some, what is this? 2000 grit sandpaper. Get this where you can see it. You take this plastic piece that has a spring on it. I use a piece of glass because the glass is perfectly flat, because you want to be able to sand this perfectly flat. I'm looking at it to see if I see any difference in the color, to know if I've gotten it all sanded smooth. I still have a little spot. Now it is smooth. Okay. It's important that you do that sandpaper cleaning on a perfectly flat surface, whether it's your concrete floor or thick piece of steel, sheet of glass, or something. And as you can tell, I always have issues when I videotape. So now we have it. Let's see if we can focus. Anyway, it's perfectly flat. So the part that you're looking at there faces out. The spring goes back in. There's a little hole that goes into. That's why I had trouble getting it out earlier. Just push it in that hole. And then we take our check valve body. And once again, look over the seal. I do not see any issues with the seal. This seals here is what it builds up pressure. It goes through that tiny hole that we put the screw in, or easy out, whatever you decide to use. The fluid goes in that way. Then when the pump shuts off, the spring pressure pushes against that seal, and that creates your check valve function. Just put it back in there just like that. The way it came out. Put that on there. Tight it up, and you're done. Good luck.